Warning. The following program contains elements of nuance, sarcasm, and satire. If you are unfamiliar with these terms, it's highly suggested you pick up a dictionary or do a quick Google search. Some names have been redacted to protect the identities of all parties involved. Listener discretion advised.
All right, here we go, ladies and gentlemen. It is me, Stephen Michael James, the one and only Comedy Simp. The man you've seen around Seattle that you think is gay, but he actually is straight. The jury's still out on that one. Anyways, guys, thanks for tuning in. Rob Conroy wanted to be here, but he's out hooking up with a homeless girl right now. Either that or delivering pizzas. So anyways, I thought today would be a good time for me to talk a little bit about myself because Rob seemed to steal most of the thunder of the last episode. So I'll talk a little bit about me, and then I think I'm going to make a few calls and see what's going on here tonight on the Seattle comedy scene. So yeah, guys, Stephen Michael James, been doing comedy here in Seattle since basically beginning of 2023. It all started, I'm originally from California. I grew up there, Northern California. It's funny, I always ask people, I always tell people that I'm from California, and then they automatically assume I'm from L.A. Believe it or not, guys, L.A. is 8 hours from Sacramento. So, I mean, literally, you could probably drive to California from here, and it still wouldn't be the same distance as Sacramento to L.A., but regardless, that's where I'm from, the farm to fork capital of the world, the city of trees. I was actually born in a town called Woodland, which was 30 minutes north of Sacramento, and that was the original city of trees, but Sacramento stole the city slogan until they changed it to the farm to fork capital. So that's your history of the Golden State today. But I've never been, stand-up comedy was not really my dream. I didn't grow up wanting to do it. I have always been a casual comedy fan. I think for me, I was more into Saturday Night Live, Ghostbusters, Chris Farley, In Living Color, sketch, Whose Line Is It Anyways? Always liked that stuff, but I never got into stand-up. I'm a music guy. I wasn't born to be a comedian, but I was definitely born to play music. Picked up a guitar for the first time in 1998, 99. Didn't really get good at it for a really long time, much like comedy today. But every teenage boy, they hit this age, they hit this time in their adolescence where they start to discover music. Being from Northern California, from Sacramento area, I didn't really have the same musical upbringing that I think most people had, listening to whatever their parents listened to. For me, in the early 90s, hip-hop was huge. Not by choice, but it's just what was around. That's what everybody liked. So I distinctly remember in the 90s riding around in the back of my brother's car. I have a brother who's 9 years older than me. And be listening to Ice Cube, Cypress Hill, House of Pain, stuff like that. I didn't hear rock music until I was 13 or 14. And again, luckily, my brother was a great influence on me. So I remember finding this VHS tape. Back in the day, my brother used to watch MTV, and he would record programs and music videos. And I have a very blur of a memory from when I was really young of seeing him watching these videos in his bedroom in Woodland, California. The one video I remember from back then was MC Hammer. MC Hammer did a video for the Addams Family movie. That's right, the Addams Family. We're dating ourselves here, early 90s. So he had one of those VHS tapes with tons and tons of music videos on it. He even wrote the name of every video. I can't tell you who was on it, but if I had to guess, I would say based on the time period, it was probably Metallica, Boyz II Men, Jodeci, Scatman, Scatman, Scatman John. I don't know. But I found this tape in the 90s, 98, 99. My mom had all of her VHS tapes over the years, just this weird collection. One other thing, too, is we moved around a lot. I'm not going to get into it right now because it's not really that important, but I lived with my mom, I lived with my dad, I lived with my grandma. So childhood is pretty weird. I don't have a lot of stability. I don't have a lot of stable memories. I don't have a lot of stability in my childhood memories. Let's just say that. So there was this VHS tape that my brother made that had stuck around in my mom's VHS collection for a long time. And there it was, all of the music videos. But he recorded over all those videos. He recorded movies. He recorded movies off of TV over those music videos. And I don't know what movies they were, but probably Lethal Weapon, things like that. I think it was 3 movies, because at the time, some of you youngsters might not know this, but VCRs used to have 3 different settings for your VHS tape, and you can record more onto the tape, but it wouldn't be as great of quality. So if you really wanted to make a good tape, you would set it for 2 hours, and you can only record 2 hours, and it would take up the whole tape, that 2 hours. If you wanted to put 2 movies on there, then yeah, you can set it for 4, and it would record over the same amount of tape. It just wouldn't record as much. And then you could do 6, and then it would just be really bad quality. So he recorded 3 movies over this VHS tape. No music videos except one, believe it or not. And it's funny that we're here in Seattle. And it was Smells Like Teen Spirit by Nirvana. First time I ever saw anything like that. I know the song because of Weird Al. I did know a little bit about Weird Al a few years before that, when I wasn't listening to Cypress Hill and Boyz II Men. So yeah, Smells Like Teen Spirit. It was Nirvana. Must have been 97, 98. A few years since grunge was over. And I got hooked. I got hooked on music. I started buying those music magazines in the store. Metal Edge, Hit Parader, Circus. If you're a white suburban kid who liked metal, you recognize these names. Got into new metal, Korn, Limp Bizkit, Slipknot, Marilyn Manson, a little bit of Insane Clown Posse. Yeah, it was. So I picked up a guitar. I loved this kind of music. I loved South Park. But I never really learned how to play. I never really learned how to tune the guitar. And then when I was in high school, I had some friends that I grew up with, and they started their own band. And being in a band was like some weird fantasy I had from, a few years prior. And I somehow convinced my mom to buy an electric guitar, even though I broke the shit out of this acoustic guitar. But she bought the electric one, and I joined this band. This band was called Element of Rage. Justin Pertzer, Justin Keith, Andrew Hall, Rance Nichols. My boys from Woodland, California. I did not know how to tune my guitar. And I barely knew how to play. needless to say, things didn't work out, and I got kicked out of the band. But I was determined. I kept practicing, getting better, studying on the internet. Just like comedy, I just kept practicing, figuring out my own way, and eventually I picked up a bass guitar, learned how to play the bass. The guys gave me another chance to be in the band, and then from there we just had a decade together of lots of fun. I love music. I am obsessed with it. I feel as though recently comedy has kind of taken the place of music. But when you're a musician, you seem to have this appreciation for all these different styles. So every 3 months I was into a new thing, whether it was 60s psychedelic rock, Pink Floyd, Iron Butterfly, like that 70s Rolling Stones, Neil Young, Zeppelin, 80s Metallica, Megadeth, Slayer. 90s would be, I love 90s music. Third Eye Blind, Sugar Ray, Sublime. These are all bands that I grew up with when I was a kid, so I still love this stuff. The Wallflowers, of course. 2000s. Now that was an interesting time in the 2000s when I was really starting to get good at music and discovering things. The internet was a big part of my life because I didn't have a lot of friends. And I didn't really date a lot of girls in school. I lived in a pretty small town outside of Sacramento, Woodland. And the girls there were pretty much Latina or into the Latina culture, or maybe they were little preppy white girls that liked NSYNC. But I used to talk to these emo girls online, find out about bands like Glassjaw, The Used, Evergreen Terrace, Taking Back Sunday. Got into the whole emo thing, Atreyu. And then when I would say from like 2005 to 2009, that's when the band was the most active. We played the most amount of shows. And we were way into all these different types of music. A mix of punk, metal, rock, Thrice, Iron Maiden, Black Label Society. It was a good time, man. I love those guys. I wrote a lot of songs. I mean, that's how I learned how to write. Wrote a lot of lyrics. I was never a good singer. We recorded some stuff. We never went on tour, but I've always been born to be a musician. Then when our band broke up in like 2010, and I didn't know what to do. I lived with my mom because one of my bandmates I was roommates with, so that was kind of awkward situation. Was my best friend, and we're still best friends today. He's JP, my brother. Do anything for him. But yeah, we stopped living together, so I lived with my mom for a while. I tried to date, but it was hard when you live with your mom in your 20s. Ended up getting my own apartment in Midtown Sacramento. That's where I met Elisa, a woman I ended up marrying, and never did the band thing again. I always tried to write songs and record over the years, little projects, solo projects. But I know that I'm not a good singer. I know that it wasn't... I mean, I love music, and I'll always make it. Even the intro, this little intro to this podcast, I made that on the computer just because it's a creative... I get so much pleasure out of doing anything creatively. So, yeah, from 2010 to, I guess, 2020, 2021, I played a little bit in my garage or in my bedroom, recorded some stuff. Never really did another band thing, never performed music solo. Pretty much gave up on it at that point. And in 2018, my kid was born. We'd been married for a few years. this job that I was at for 10 years was starting to go bad. You know, the guy who owned it sold it to this other company. All the people that had been there for a really long time started getting fired. And I saw that the writing was on the wall. I said, you know, got to do something. Got to get out of here. We spent our honeymoon in Seattle. We loved Washington. Her mom's from Bellingham. Didn't want to raise my kid in gangland, so left California, came up here. And still, it's been a struggle trying to figure things out. Worked at a job for a year. It was really stressful. Kid is stressful. Got a new job. COVID was horrible for everybody. Hard to raise a kid during COVID, especially. You don't have family members around. You don't have friends around. You have no support. You can't really. We used to bring our kid to the Everett Library to play with other kids, and then that went away. And yeah, man, it's sad. It's sad that when you have an only child who obviously has autism or some issues of autism and just desperately wants friends, definitely feel bad for her. Not to bring this whole thing down, but what I'm trying to say is this is what brought me here. This is who I am. Comedy was not really a big part of it. I would say, though, during that first couple years that I was here, I watched a lot of YouTube because I would get off at midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning. Everybody in my house was asleep. I always loved Joe Rogan's podcast. I used to go on walks in California and listen to it on my lunch. I also liked the Nerdist podcast with Chris Hardwick, which pretty sad that one went away. That was a good one. So watching YouTube, I started watching Joe Rogan, seeing the podcast, the video podcast. And from there, I started to find out about Kill Tony, all these other comedians. And over time, I started to get more and more into it, but during COVID, and I was watching Kill Tony, and that was during the time where they had no audience, and it was a really weird show. So I never started watching the show until the pandemic. So to see when they went to Texas, I kind of followed the whole story and seeing the crowds and seeing comedy come back. It was really inspiring. And I just started to get this really... started to get hooked on it, you know, like I wanted to at least see what it was all about. My friend Jake, who some of my comic friends know, he's my number one fan here in Seattle. Jake and Jeremy, his cousin, had told me that they had gone to Laughs Comedy Club and saw some local comedians, and that really got me excited. I started to look up local comics, do a little bit of research, find out that there is an open mic in Everett, which is about 30 minutes from me. I don't know if you guys know, but I live in Granite Falls. That's right, Granite Falls, Washington. So all you people that see me down there in Olympia, in Tacoma, in Renton, just know that that's how far I drive for comedy, because I want to make people laugh. I want to do this for real. And I'm dedicated. Look at this, man. I'm in my garage right now. My garage. I got a kid. I got a wife. I got a house. I got bills. Even today. Today was such a stressful day. My father-in-law died like a month ago, and we're moving his stuff around. And it's like hanging a deer head. I had to move a deer head out of one room and hang it on another. And the frustration of trying to put this deer head up and the screws aren't right and the wiring in the back and nothing is holding it and everything's falling out of the wall. And I'm just like, I messed with this deer head for 30 minutes or so, and I'm like, I need to take a shower because I got this fucking dusty deer head carcass all over me that I've been touching. And I don't like taxidermy at all, but this is like a sentimental thing for my wife because her dad killed this deer. So it's on our wall. And then moving one TV, like he had this giant TV. We have a smaller TV that's from like 2012 when I first met her. So we swapped those around and those didn't fit right. And just I'm not a handyman. I have a job where I work with tools, but that's not my forte. That's why I'm trying to do comedy, because I don't like fixing stuff. I fix stuff. I guess I get some satisfaction when it's done, but the process and getting there, I hate it, and I don't want to do it, and I don't like getting my hands dirty. Look at this. I freaking was trying to drill through some metal, and I didn't use a drill bit because I was trying to save time, so I got a self-tapper screw. Whole thing slides and just jam into my rookie mistake. Back to the matter at hand. So I found out Tony V's was doing comedy every week. I saw this lady, Deb Tahara, shout out, made this really cool documentary inspired by another documentary from Sam Morril, who's a famous comic, works with Mark Normand. He's been on Rogan. They have a podcast called We Might Be Drunk. He did hello. He did a documentary about comedy coming back during COVID. And so this lady kind of was inspired by that, and she did the same thing, and it was about Tony V's and Everett, Seattle comics coming back after COVID, and Tony V's was the first place that was doing it. So I watched that, I kind of checked that out, and kind of got a little excited. Went to Tony V's for the first time, and maybe beginning of October 22, just to see what it was like. As a musician, you know what a open mic is like. You go there, you play your song, and that's it. But as a comedian, I don't know what an open mic is. Do the comics, do they tell the same joke every week? Do they just do different stuff every week? Do they even show up every week? Well, the truth is that it's all of it. Everybody does something a little bit differently. I've seen certain people do the exact same set since I started, and then I see people like PJ who just does something different every time, just going through whatever horrible thing he was going through in that moment, and he'll talk about that. So the answer is everything. It's all whatever it is. That's how I figured it out. Every week I went for about almost 2 months just to see what was happening, who showed up, who were the people that kept coming back, who showed up once and didn't come back for a few weeks, until I started making friends with a couple people. Nick Cody was the first one. Inspired me to go up there, and finally in December I went up there, and it was it's pretty bad. It's pretty bad. The first 2.5 minutes, silence, trying to do this bit about how Seattle and Everett are different, and Everett's better even though it's uglier. I don't know. And then in the middle, I did this whole thing about my coworker Carl. I got a little bit of laughs, and then finally another 2 minutes of Mr. Han, the man who died from having sex with a horse, and that didn't go over very well either, believe it or not. But either way, took a few weeks, had some personal things going on at that time, and just trying to figure things out. Came back in December, did a little bit better, and kept coming back. And then, just got hooked. I've had a couple friends that have invited me to do some shows, and that was awesome. But I really think it wasn't until the beginning of this year, where I really felt like I started to put things together. I've had a couple jokes here or there that had a few laughs. I had one really good one, I think happened in July or August, which really just built my confidence up. But I did a set in Renton on July 1st, New Year's Day. It was probably my best set that I had at that point, and it just gave me a lot of confidence and kept going. So that's what we're doing. That's the story. That's why I'm here now. Yeah, there's a lot of weird stuff going on in Seattle. I don't know if I really want to talk about it, but I heard tonight the Shanghai Room was pretty wild. So I wonder if I can call some friends and kind of get a recap, huh? Let's see. Let's see right now. This young man. We're making a call.
Hey, what's up, man?
Yo, Nick Cody. What's happening?
What's up, brother?
Where are you at right now?
I am right now, just got off at Aurora Transit Center, but the last bus home was already fucking zonked. So I'm standing outside the Arby's and the Denny's and trying to decide, do I go to one of these or do I just order an Uber right now?
Just call Noah the engine. Where is he?
Oh, no, I pieced out with him at Shanghai. They were going to another mic, and I got work tomorrow.
Yeah, me too. So, what was the scene like tonight at Shanghai?
Miserable. I knew, well, even before I went on stage, like, let me know that he was going to go talk tonight and blah, 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 and he was totally going to take her down. And I was just like, all right, dude, well, just be mindful, like, it's not not like the healthiest things you've been putting out there. And he's like, yeah, that's why I deleted some stuff, blah, blah, blah. And then he let me know, he's like, also, yeah, don't tell anyone else, which, like, I didn't agree to because I couldn't, because I almost laughed immediately. But he was like, I got a ticket. I'm going down to L.A. with Beer Death, so I got a one-way ticket. So I'm just going to go down there and just try for it, man, just see how it goes. And I was like, oh, Jesus, well, maybe he makes more friends than he's been making in Seattle. Dude, his set with, I forget, he did have an opening joke, because thank God, because this was the one thing I could call back on and call out besides, when he got off, I was like, give it up for and if you're interested in joining his incel advisory group. And he got a laugh out of it, but I was like, I don't think you understand. That's not laughing with you. But I don't know, man. It's rough. And I was even just messaging him here on the way home. I was like, yeah, man, just be mindful. Just keep in mind that, like, I think a lot of people that you're calling out for waiting are noticing that you're just starting to learn to doggy power, man. You got to remember that everybody doesn't intend to be an asshole. Very few people intend to disrupt comedy or be mean to someone. Generally, most people are coming from a place where they mean the best intent, whether for that person or for comedy itself, and to try and think about that. And he was just like, yeah, man, I know, but there's people like out there, and they don't even know that they're fucking male feminists, and they're bullshit, they're cocks. And I was just like, oh my God, dude, this guy's so awful.
He's an interesting young man. I have a very, very long message that he sent me. I didn't even I started to just glance over it, and I saw
too long, didn't read.
I saw the word Jesus about 5 times in it. So
yeah.
I was like, but yeah, no, I was talking, Rob's like, let's get him on the podcast. So, but, no, it's,
he's doing his too, which is because it's just like,
yeah, well, he's a nice guy. I'm trying to support him, but I don't always agree with all the decisions he's making. I said, hey, man, we all have our opinions on certain places, but it's almost best if you just kind of just sit back and just let them make their own mistakes.
In fact, dude, like my last message to him before you called was, just keep in mind that often the most powerful person in the room is the quietest, And that's not often because of power they already have. It's just the fact they're listening better than anyone else.
Yeah.
And I don't think he took that in for what it meant. But I really hope he just sits there and listens fucking... Because whatever, even like, what says probably isn't wrong. He probably needs to hear it on a different level. But dude, he's basically harassing them.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't know how old he is, but you know, I wouldn't make that choice. So, but who else? Anybody else of note show up at Shanghai tonight?
Of note, I mean, plenty of people of note. It's just it sucked, man. The room was so awful. Like I kind of did what I could. I was a little dry at first, and I didn't realize like, oh no, this is just how it's gonna be tonight. Like, it was just. Yeah, dude, I don't know. The energy was just so off. It was very much speaking into like a vacuum, you know?
Well, with that said, come to the Shanghai next Saturday for Comedy Code Breakers.
Dude, I think that was the hardest part, too, is like nobody was listening. So when I promoted it, I literally, as I got off the stage, I did 3 minutes with the belt and like just promoting. And then like literally as soon as I got off the stage, someone's like, so what's happening next Saturday? I wasn't listening.
Well, all I know is we have the best budget lookalike wrestlers in Seattle. We have, JoJo is he is the budget R-Truth. You are the budget Kevin Nash. I think I'll be the budget Miz. Scott Coburn, I don't know. He's like a Steve Austin who's way past his prime.
Yeah, well, he kind of gives me a Tommaso Ciampa vibe, like an older Tommaso Ciampa.
Or Jesse the Body.
Yeah, bro. I see that.
And then Cruz is our, I don't know. He's like, what is that, Rey Mysterio's son?
Dominic?
Yeah, Dominic.
Oh my God, we don't need to get him booed off the stage any more than he'll already do for himself. Dude, Dominic Mysterio just got married, and he's the only person living his kayfabe so much that they booed his ass when he tried to say a speech.
Oh, wow.
His own wedding. He got on the mic, and as soon as he started, they're like, boo!
Well, I definitely think comedy needs to learn a little bit of something from wrestling.
Oh.
That's for sure.
Bro. Cruz did 5 minutes tonight, but only because I let him hold the championship belt the entire time. He stayed up there the entire 5 minutes. But then at the end, I had to like transition out and be like, well, today Cruz proved to us you can hold the belt, but it won't write material for you.
Oh, boy. I haven't seen Cruz in a while. It seems like he only goes to Shanghai and Comedy Bar. I don't see him anywhere else.
Yeah, pretty much.
So we know what kind of comedian he is. So, like I said, we got Comedy Code Breakers next week. You got a Tapped Out Comedy. What day is that? That's the end of the month?
29th.
The 29th. And I'm sure lots more events coming up.
Yeah, we'll see. Dude, literally after tonight, I was like, man, I might need to find an exit strategy to the Shanghai. I was like, it was such a bummer. At one point, God, I made a comment about it that was fucking hilarious and probably one of my best lines of the night. But it was like, it was one of those nights where even though there weren't that many signups till the end, like we got full, but just barely. But honestly, like I didn't even bother going up on stage in between any comics, even if it was bad, because it's like there's no saving this.
Well, I mean, yeah, I mean it's there's not a lot to choose from on the weekends. So the Shanghai is the Shanghai, but
it's just weird. Like Saturdays in Shanghai have been really, really good, and then tonight was like a big slap in the face of reality of like, oh yeah, here's what it's like to be miserable, motherfucker.
Well, I don't know. I think I feel like I'm like poison because every time I go somewhere, it's like nobody's there, and then they're like, man, last week's everybody was there. So I don't know.
Yeah, but that's always nostalgia. Nobody ever is like, oh, last week was fucking shit, because you go home and try and forget about it.
Yeah, exactly.
you only remember the good times, and that might have been 2 weeks ago, but it seems like last week. So
Yeah.
Last week was so much better. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I'm really
I remember what the line was. Somebody had asked about if the audience had any dreams, if they had reoccurring dreams, and no one responded. And at the end of his set, I was like, I have to admit, I don't have any reoccurring dreams. I used to think I had a reoccurring nightmare, but then it turned out it was just hosting here on Saturday.
Yep, that's right. Well, it's not Friday, but I will say I'm liking the Whiskey Mile more and more. It's not a big room, but if you want to compare it to 4B's, it's much better audience. And talking to Sam, it seems like he's really good friends with the owner there, and they're pretty flexible as far as different things.
Awesome, dude. I'm getting in my Uber right now, so if I talk to anybody else, just say.
No, it's all good, man. I'll probably just let you go because I'm going to wrap this up pretty soon. But
thank you.
Just wanted to give you a nice little call and find out what was going on tonight. And on the ever never-ending saga of I'm going to do a whole hour-long documentary on him.
All right, man. Well, it's good talking to you at least. And, I'll send you the things I sent to, and then, I got to find out how to record his voicemails. They're pretty funny.
Oh, yeah. I got some. I don't want to play them, but, I'll But, yeah, man, I'll probably see you sometime next week.
All right, definitely, man. Take it easy.
All right, you too, man. Bye.
Bye.
There you have it, guys. Nick Cody. I don't even know how long we've been going. I need to change the format of the clock here because I don't know. Should we do another call? Let's try. Let's see who's going to be on the call today. Let's see. Anticipation's growing.
Please leave your message for 3.
Yep.
5 0.
All right, so I wasn't going to leave a message, but I don't know how long I've been going. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm just going to end it pretty early. That's pretty much the story on Stephen Michael James. Nice check-in from Nick Cody at the Shanghai. Going to be doing this more often. I have some ideas in the future, a lot of guests coming up. So if you did like this, just like and subscribe. Follow me, at Stephen MJ Comedy. And just remember, Seattle comedy isn't real comedy. Right?